Hey everyone, I'm Marsha. Welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to show you just how easy it is to make homemade chicken noodle soup. But before we get started, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss when I upload a video. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so starting with what you're going to need, which is really just a few ingredients. So for your vegetables, you're using carrots, celery, and onion. And then you're gonna add some chicken broth. You're also gonna add some water too. For your seasonings, it's really just salt, pepper, and I have a special blend of seasoning that I'll show you guys from McCormick. So I'm using those 3 seasonings, and then my noodles, and then butter. All right, so I'm chopping up my carrots, and I believe I used 5 carrots. I will put the measurements down below in the description box for everything that I use. So right now I'm just chopping up my carrots. I did wash them thoroughly, but then I also peeled them. So I guess if you're gonna wash them really good, you don't have to peel them, but I did both. And I kind of like to keep them, you know, a nice size. I don't want them to be too thin where they just disappear in the soup. I want to still taste carrots, and I want to still taste celery. And then watch out for Naomi's hair puffs that are gonna come into the frame because she loves to watch me chop vegetables, so I had to tell her to move out of the way while I finished. But yeah, so I'm just gonna chop up all of these carrots, and then I'll move on to the celery. All right, moving on to the celery. So I'll leave how many celery sticks I chopped up down below, but again, same kind of method or same theory. I just want to be able to, you know, taste the celery or see the celery. I don't want it to completely dissolve in the soup. So that is the reason why I'm chopping mine up with this type of thickness and this type of size. And last but not least is my onion. I think I had like a smallish size onion, so I believe I used the entire onion. It definitely calls for 1 small onion, but a lot of times onions can kind of be huge and, you know, too much. So if you have a really big onion, then just use half of it. But mine was pretty small, so I believe I chopped up the entire onion. All right, once all of my vegetables are chopped up, I'm just adding them to a bowl to kind of get them out the way. But that's really the hardest part, in my opinion, is chopping up these vegetables. Everything else just kind of get dumped into a pot, except your chicken, and I'll go into that in just a second. All right, so now I'm going to saute my vegetables. So I'm adding some butter to my pot, and you certainly don't have to saute the vegetables. I mean, they're going to cook just like all the other ingredients, but I do like to kind of saute them first before I add everything else in there, just so they can kind of release some of their flavor, and so they can kind of soften up a little bit. So, and then they'll get the flavor from the butter as well. So everything kind of blends in really good. And so, I don't know, I just like sauteing mine, but you don't have to. So I'm adding the butter in, and then I'm gonna add in the vegetables on top of that. And then I'm literally just going to let them do their thing and saute for about 5 minutes. And so I only stir it when I first get them in there, and then I kind of just let them sit, and then I'll stir them again at the end. All right, so now that they've been sauteing for about 5 minutes, I'm gonna add some flour. So the purpose of the flour is to kind of help thicken up the soup. This is optional as well, but it does kind of help bring some thickness to the soup, because the chicken broth can be, you know, kind of runny, but when you add some flour to the vegetables, it does kind of help thicken up the soup a little bit. So once you add the flour in, you don't want to just add the flour and then dump everything in on top of that. So you actually have to kind of cook that flour a little bit by just stirring it and letting it saute some more with the vegetables. Once you do that, then you can start to add the rest of your ingredients. So I'm adding my chicken broth. Now, here's the thing. I've tried it a few different ways with different cups and measurements. For me, the perfect measurement is 10 cups of chicken broth. So if you're using this container that I'm using, 1 container is 4 cups of broth. So you will need 2.5 containers of chicken broth. Initially, it will seem like a lot of chicken broth, but trust me, once you add in the chicken and the noodles, those noodles suck up that broth. so much so until you will need more. And so it's better to add it now on the front end than have to add it later because you don't have enough chicken broth. So I add 10 cups of chicken broth, and then I will add 4 cups of water. So yes, this is a total of 14 cups of liquid because the noodles, the egg noodles, just soak up that liquid so much so that you don't have enough to actually officially have soup. So yes, 10 cups of chicken broth, 4 cups of water, and it almost doesn't fit, but for me, for this pot, it worked. It barely fits, so perfect. And then I'm gonna bring all of that liquid up to a boil before I add my chicken and my egg noodles. While I'm waiting for my liquid to come to a boil, I'm gonna add my seasoning. So I'm adding my salt, I'm adding my pepper, and then I'm gonna add my special seasoning. All right, and so for my special seasoning, it is the McCormick Perfect Pinch Original All-Purpose Seasoning. So McCormick has a line of Perfect Pinch seasonings. So I think they have like lemon pepper and Jamaican and all kind of different Perfect Pinch brands. But I like the all-purpose because if you look at the back, it has all of these same spices that you would normally put in chicken noodle soup. So it has like basil and thyme and oregano and onion powder and things that you would normally find in chicken noodle soup as far as seasonings go. You may not be able to find it at your grocery store, but if you can, definitely get it for chicken noodle soup. But if you can't, feel free to just add, the normal seasonings that you would to chicken noodle soup, like oregano, thyme, basil, onion powder, garlic powder, so on and so forth. And then for the chicken, I am using 2 large cooked and shredded chicken breasts that I've already pre-cooked and shredded. I have another video on my channel for exactly how to cook chicken breast to where it's very tender and it's not overcooked and it's not rubbery. So check that video out if you haven't already. So I'm adding just those 2 chicken breasts that I've already cooked into my soup. So now I'm getting ready to add my noodles. So again, I've waited till my liquid has come to a boil, and now I'm adding the chicken and the noodles in at this point. And I'm using egg noodles again, and I'm not going to use this entire bag. I believe this is a 1 pound bag, and 1 pound of noodles is a lot. It's too much. So I'm only using like maybe 3/4 of the bag of noodles. And so it may not look like it's enough noodles, but trust me, once it cooks and it plumps up, it's a lot of noodles. So please don't use the entire bag if you have a 1 pound bag like I do, because it will be too much. So I'm just gonna let that cook according to the normal instructions on the back of the package of noodles, which is 10 to 12 minutes. I like mine to cook like a full 12 minutes. And once the 12 minutes is up, again, everything else is cooked. So once your 12 minutes is up and your noodles are done, it will look something like this, and everything just looks so good at this point. Everything has come together. All the flavors have come together, and it's ready to serve. So I'm just gonna put this in a bowl so you can see how amazing this looks, and ignore my awkwardness because I couldn't figure out how to do this where you could still see what I'm doing on camera and I wasn't blocking the camera. I don't know, I had an awkward moment. So I'm trying to put this in there and my hands look all sideways. But so yes, this is your homemade chicken noodle soup. It is so good, you guys. Trust me, if you haven't already made homemade chicken noodle soup, I definitely recommend that you do so. Once you do, you'll never want to go back to store-bought soup because it just doesn't taste the same. And it's too expensive. So try this recipe out. I did just sprinkle a little thyme on top for decoration, as my son likes to say. But yeah, definitely try this recipe out. All right, that's it, you guys. It's super easy to make homemade chicken noodle soup yourself at home with just a few simple ingredients. And trust me, once you try this recipe out, you'll never want to buy store-made chicken noodle soup again, like ever, okay? So try this one out. If you like it, drop me a comment down below. And again, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I would love for you to be a part of my YouTube family. So hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss when I upload a video. All right, until next week, you guys, I'll see you later.